wait for a little bit to get a few people on before we start going through the housekeeping and so forth. But today's chat is going to be about gutter fishing and the techniques involved, and most importantly, what we use to do just that. So quickly, just a bit of housekeeping with it is we'd like to thank the people who keep the lights on here at On Point Adventures. So we got Penn. Penn looks after us very well. Aeroo, Colour Up does all our uniforms. So, you know, as I said, without those three brands, we certainly would not be what we are today. So thank you very much to those three. That was Penn, Colour Up and Aeroo. But as I said, today we are going to be talking about fishing in gutters, essentially. So with all the demersal bands, Rush Gang, let's go. How you going, Jack? Good to see you on. You made it. With all the demersal bands and so forth we get here in WA, it's very easy for people to get caught up in the doom and gloom of everything. So that's why we're going to run through something a little bit closer to home, something that we can all do and something that provides so much fun. I think that we forget it as we evolve as anglers. That's right. So as we get further and further into our angling journey, I really do think we sometimes forget about the bread and butter species. But before we go any further, I just want to show you a new little purchase of my own. And this is something super cool, I reckon, and it's something that suits any fisherman. How sick is this? So this here is a metal GT. How good's that? Now this GT here is made by a bloke here in Lancelin. He's local, named Stephen. I'm going to try and fit that one back behind me again. Yeah, his name's Stephen. He owns Metal Fusion Company. So if you jump on Facebook and check out Metal Fusion Co., he can actually build any fish you want on steel, laser cut, looks fantastic to your exact needs. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty bloody cool thing, to be honest. And to be honest, the pricing on them is so super cheap, it is not funny. And that's why I committed, because I'm cheap, and I thought that looked absolutely terrific. So as I said, Stephen there at Metal Fusion Co. on Facebook is well worth a look. Not sponsoring the channel or anything, just a super cool thing. Anyway, we'll keep that whistle wet so I don't go coughing like an old person smelling mothballs. But anyway, so we're going to talk about gutter fishing today. We're going to start off with the basics. I'm going to run you through absolutely everything you need. Rods, reels, tackle, leaders, lures, what we use, and when the fishing is slow, exactly how we combat that to turn our day still into a productive one. So we'll start with the rod and reel, because I reckon that's the most boring part of today and fishing the gutters. So what we use for our rod and reel is simply this, just a little 1,000 to 2,500 size reel. In this case here, it's just the little aeroo Revo. We're fishing a 6-pound braid on there, but look, you can fish anywhere up to like your PE 0.6. And the advantage of fishing your PE 0.6 is, of course, that can be rated up to 15 odd pound. So if you do come across those larger gutter dwellers, you're right as rain. The rod where we fish here is in reverse for you guys probably, which is your Veritas PLX tournament. Now this is a rod that's no longer made or stocked, I don't think. Jacob, where do you fish? Mate, we fish all up and down the west coast, anywhere from Albany to Exmouth. So yeah, there should be something for everyone. But yeah, whilst I don't make the Veritas PLX anymore, any rod like this, which is a 7'2" ultralight, 1 to 3 kilo, which is my favourite size for gutter fishing, it's rated 2 to 8 grams on lures, will be fine. But just make sure, probably my biggest tip would be, make sure it's 7 foot plus. Jacob, even though you're in Melbourne, mate, I'm sure today's video is certainly going to relate to what you do. The good thing about this particular combo is it's not expensive. Abu is definitely one of those brands that I think has certainly been forgotten about, but shouldn't be, because their gear is absolutely prime. So that's the rod and reel we're using. Now, the reason we're using the longer 7'2" rod and the lighter braid is just to enable us to cast that extra couple of meters, but the sensitive tip in the 1 to 3 kilo allows you to fish absolutely everything. I mean, it'll feel a fish fart from 100 meters away almost, but Most importantly, that light braid as well is going to give you that beautiful contact you need and eliminate a lot of belly out the line because of its very fine diameter. So it enables you to hook those fish, and I mean, no matter how small the fish is, it's still going to be a heck of a lot of fun on that rod and reel, or on any rod and reel. As I said, 1 to 3 kilo, 2,500, 6 pound, and you're laughing. We get down to the leaders because that's the next most boring part. I just take my leaders down in any small box like this. Of course, I've got my set of braid scissors, which is absolutely important. But I usually carry 4 and 6 pound. As you can see, my 4 pound doesn't get used a great deal, but my 6 pound does. Okay, so 6 pound fluorocarbon is perfect for those whiting and all that. And because you're fishing sandy gutters, guys, you don't really have to worry about that abrasion or protecting it stuff. Hey there, mate. How you going? Good to see you on. Whereabouts are you from there? I don't know. 41 pound braided. I didn't come to play. Well, you wouldn't be playing around with 41 pound braid there, Jimmy. You'd be skull dragging anything out of these shallow gutters. But yeah, look, as I said, the 6 pound braid enables you to pretty much do everything you want, because when you hook fish in these gutters, you certainly don't have to panic, because a lot of the time there's no structure other than sand, so you just take your time. And keep in mind, if the fish are finicky, then a lighter braid and monofilament or fluorocarbon leader is certainly going to help, because it'll spook the fish far less. Now, the two, I'll bring out probably, I guess, the most common lures that everyone would probably think of when we're talking about this. And this is your metals here. Okay, so I've got a 5 gram and a 20 gram. Now, these are great lures. I guess if you want to cover major distance through these gutters. Steve Harvey picked up a new 1 to 2 kilo rod with my delivery the other day, waiting on my reel to arrive. 1 to 2, mate, that's going to be awesome fun where you are there, Steve. I know where you are, and I tell you what, mate, that'd be a belter. You need to get up the road to Exmouth Fish Bundigi Flats with that rod, and you'll have a blast on the G's. But yeah, so I'll use this lure in particular because this has probably become my favourite metal, which is the little Molossi Marksman 20 gram. I like the silver. I'm not a huge fan of the gold unless I'm fishing in the Swan River, but I do like that little sparkly bit at the top, okay? So they come with a multitude of different patterns, but this one here has been my favourite. It has been flogged to pieces, and because it's a metal, it never ever tarnishes. Now, as I said, the metals are really good for casting huge distances and covering a lot of ground, but keep in mind, I do find, and this is a personal opinion, that the metals certainly do limit what I catch in the gutters, okay? The reason is because I generally find it's usually only the herring and tailor that want to whack them, which leaves behind your whiting, flathead, dart, usually your trevally. They may hit it, but I mean, I suppose if you slowed them down and jigged them through the gutters, you might do all right. Rush Gang, so keen for some light tackle lure sessions. Mate, I can't wait to catch up with you to do this. It's going to be awesome. And if anyone hasn't checked out Rush Gang's Fishing's channel, get on there now. There's 38 people watching, so that should be 38 subs for old Jack there, because it's well worth the sub. Landmark Fishing just picked up some marksmen. Now, Landmark's also another fantastic channel that you guys want to check out, especially if you're into your surf fishing. And you're right there, mate. The Molossi Marksmen, you're going to love them, mate. They're fantastic. So the other lure that I use for long range casting, which is a bit tangled up on the bench here, is this here, which is the smallest shiver stick that CID does. Okay. Now, I love this chartreuse colour. I personally think anything in a gutter eats chartreuse. It is definitely my number one colour, and that's my number one size to throw on the 4 pound. So I won't go too much into the CID Shiver Stick Tinies because they're on a lot of our videos. You just got to go back and find them, and you will certainly find a lot of gear on that. Right, now we're going to get into some more exciting lures, and this is probably the latest release from Berkeley that I was a bit skeptical about, but absolutely punishes fish and is fast becoming my go-to lure in almost any situation, which is this here. Now, this is called the Finisher. That's right, the Finisher. And does it do exactly that? So this is actually designed for FFS, which is forward-facing sonar, they call it. But essentially, this lure planes down really fast. But when you lift this lure, it darts like absolute crazy. So with a really quick wind and a downward rod stroke, This lure is just dancing so perfectly through any gutter. Aussie Fisho Man, I'm new here. Well, Aussie Fisho, I'm glad you're new here, mate, and I hope you like it, because we certainly have a ball bringing these lives to you guys. But yeah, so this lure here, this is the largest size, but you can get these down to a 50 mil, which is the size I'd suggest for what we're talking about. But I just figured with the larger one here, it's easy to see. I mean, have a look at that profile and have a look at the finish on that. It's a beautiful lure, and would you believe this is about 40 fish old? So that one there is absolutely smashed it. All we've done here is upgrade or replace the trebles. They come standard with owner ST56s maybe, or stingers. And I've only just changed them out because I'm going to go out this weekend and I don't really want secondhand trebles on there. So they're the cast and retrieve lures that are going to cover a heck of a lot of ground. And as I said, they're really good for targeting them faster species. So your tailor and your herring and the odd trevally. Also, if the salmon come into the gutter, they're going to have no problems whacking any of those lures that I've showed you up as well. Now we get into the slower stuff. Now this is where I believe the best fun in gutters comes from. Soft plastics. So to start off with, I mean, having a good range of jig heads is handy. This is how I store mine there. So as you can see there, they're just all there lined up in a case. I've got them all in size and everything, a bit OCD, I guess, but it's a good way to keep everything neat and where you liked it. Twisted Puppet Island, is that where you're from? Because I tell you what, that's pretty cool if you are. Aussie Fisherman, nice tips so far. I'll have to have a deeper look into your channel. Mate, by all means, or send us a message on any of the platforms and we can help you out there. Jimmy Mush Fishing, gold never fails. It certainly doesn't. And you sell these lures? No, we don't. No. And Twisted Puppet, no. We're in Australia, mate, not Ireland. So yeah, Aussie. But as I said, so that's how I store my jig heads. But most importantly, this is how we rig them, generally with a small curly tail plastic. Something in the 2 to 3 inches I find is absolutely premium for any gutter. Fisho Brothers, hi, how you going, guys? Glad to have you on board. So my favourite plastics for doing this is these, and I've mentioned these on a heck of a lot of lives. The Berkeley Power Minnow 3-inch Pearl Watermelon is the ultimate profile. Check this out. Now, you're going to look like you've been at a Mardi Gras after you've played with these, because they're covered in that much glitter, as you can see, that blue pearl fleck. But just have a look at that profile there. For a tiny little plastic. Now, that is going to be premium for flicking any of the gutters at the islands, any gutters off the beach, and that flash there goes absolutely crazy. Just that little bit of pearl scale on them really works. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of a history on these power bait minnows. These used to be, Jimmy, where's Irish accent I've ever heard? Mate, if my Aussie accent sounds Irish, I'll walk east. But yeah, so a bit of a history on these. These were actually in the early 2000s, roughly. Powerbait brought these out, especially when AFC was just starting, which is the Australian Fishing Championship. And these absolutely were used by, I think, every angler in WA. Since TPE's come out, these have really dropped off because they're not as strong. So if the toadies or blowies are around, they do get pulled to pieces. However, persistent, these will outfish almost any plastic. And as you can probably see on my fingers there, that glitter, that's why it looks like you've been in a Mardi Gras, because once you start painting your nose and your lips, mate, you're anyone's shot down at the local pub, I reckon. Twisted Puppet, you're in Florida. Mate, how cool is that to have someone tuning in from Florida? I'm absolutely stoked on that. Now, the second plastic, whoop, there goes the table, that I love using in the gutters is a little 2.5 inch power minnow, or power grub. And I like this colour here. Now, I mentioned chartreuse earlier on. Check that out. Chartreuse bottom with a darker top with a tiny bit of black fleck through it is absolutely premium. And they call this one the Breen Chartreuse here in the power baits. And what I do like, even though I just ruined it, is you can see they come in their own soft plastic tray there. So they stay nice and neat and the tails don't crinkle. Fisho Brothers, can I get a shout out? Absolutely, Fisho Brothers. I haven't watched your channel, mate, but I'll certainly head over and have a look. Aussie Fisherman, did AFC stop making for a while? I'm not really sure what happened to the Australian Fishing Championships, to be honest. I think they still do something in some capacity, but I'm not really sure. Fisher Brothers, what time is it there? We're looking at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Aussie Fisher Man used to watch them in the morning every day. There you go. We make soft plastics at home. Save yourself a small fortune. I simply don't have the time or the capacity to take any more projects or anything like that on. So no. Shannon Edwards, any good plastic for KGs? Well, glad you asked, because the next plastic I'm about to show you to fish these gutters is premium for KGs, and I'm about to show you. Check these out. So these here are your Gulp salty nippers. Okay, I'm not going to pull these out because anyone who knows Gulp knows it stinks and it stays on your hands. But as you can see by the top there, the little illustration of it, it's a perfect little nipper, which whiting absolutely love. Okay, now the good thing with these is they're so centered up that the King George smacked the crap out of them. But when those gutters are slightly more shut down and you're finding the fish a little bit harder to come across, Gulp will turn your fortune in an absolute instant, guaranteed every time. In fact, this is a perfect way as well to get the kids involved, because you can almost dead stick these and they work well. The fish will eat them on the dead stick, guaranteed. What do we got there? Wooden Tech, you kill fish, every fish that bites on plastic. No, I think I know what you're trying to get at there, which is saying that soft plastics kill fish. And if you talk about killing fish as in you're going to have a kill a day, absolutely. Killing fish as in they die, only if you kill them, mate. I have caught many a tagged fish that I've personally caught, okay? And those tagged fish I know have been caught on soft plastics, or some of them, and they're perfectly healthy, mate. They're coming back and eating. I've actually caught brim that had pretty significant, I guess you could say, personal marks on them that I have caught weeks and weeks later in the Swan River. Now, whether or not they're exactly the same fish, maybe, I don't know. I would think that they are, just from personal, and I think that, yeah, they're fine, mate. There's no problems there. Fisho Brothers, he doesn't kill fish. No, absolutely not. The only fish I kill are ones that I want to eat, and that's very limited. As you'll see on our channel, we release so many fish. Aussie Fisherman, bait has worse effect, especially when they're swallowing the hooks. I would totally agree there. Aussie Fisho, bait with a deeply lodged hook is bad, but that's why I'm going to show you something in a second, which is my final piece of this gutter talk, which will certainly mitigate dead fish on bait. Best lure for northern pike, Robin Ackermark. I'm actually not sure, Robin. I don't fish for northern pike. However, if you work it out, certainly let me know. And we can go from there. Aussie Fisherman, due to the fish swallowing the hook with the bait straight down the throat. Yes, exactly right, which is why I'm going to show you something in a second. Jimmy Mush Fishing, eco-friendly plastic, pal. Well, I mean, the Gulp is biodegradable, so that's pretty eco-friendly, I think. Well, in my opinion anyway, but I don't think anything that you're artificially introducing, including the hooks that you rig your plastic on, is going to be too eco-friendly. So let's take that into consideration as well. Us fishermen, we're certainly not, I guess, the most innocent people when it comes to, I guess, how would you say it? Not polluting, but certainly introducing things into waterways that if you lose them, they don't break down overly quick. Wooden Tech, so eating plastic is fine. No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all, but neither is eating a metal hook, which I'm sure you'd agree, or as your name would suggest, eating wood probably wouldn't be great either. Just my opinion. In fact, I think that fish chewing down on lead sinkers would be equally as detrimental to their health. But look, at the end of the day, I'm not a vet. I don't have any sort of science background in fish health or anything like that. Mate, you're on a fishing channel. We're just here to catch fish and have a good time doing it. So I hope you enjoy it. Jimmy Nash Fishing, I'm a pike fisherman. They eat anything. Well, there you go. So the final part of, I guess, the stuff that I take down consistently to a gutter, which has just been spoken about further up the comments there about bait fishing and potentially fish swallowing the hooks and getting hooked, which is why I use what I'm about to show, which is these. So these are the vexed bottom, I don't know what you'd call them, well, micro meat head pack, but essentially they're the jig heads that go on the micro meats, which is a bait carrier system. So you buy these in a pack of 5 here. These are the size 10 and these are perfect for it. And what you do is you buy that, you can buy them in an all-in-one system, but I prefer to buy them separate. I buy these here. And this is your assist that you connect on to your micro meat head. Now, how does this mitigate what we were saying about the bait getting lodged? Is simply this. We've got little circle hooks here. So the circle hooks are now allow us a fairly clean lip hookup. Now keep in mind when fishing these circles, we're not striking, we're leaning the rod into the fish. If you strike, you'll pull a circle out 9 times out of 10. If you lean that rod gently into the fish, the circle will pull through the mouth, generally hook into the side of the mouth, and once a circle hooks in, it's not coming out. It is very rare to gut hook a fish on circles, which is why I use the circle assist from Vexed. As you can see, they've got they've got a little bit of a worm up the top here, which they do in a variety of colours. I've got a whole heap behind me, but I'm not going to take them off the shelf for this. But this is my favourite here because it reminds me a bit of a sandworm, if you like, or a cockle colour. There we go. They call it the sticky pippy. So the sticky pip is that one there. And as you can see off the tail there, it's got a bit of flash. Shannon Edwards tried the Vexed Botanosters today with the worm long shanks, worked a treat, some good KGs and massive sandies. There you go. Couldn't have timed that one better for this video at all. But yeah, so that little system there, guys, with the micro meat head and the worm hooks there is an absolute deadly combination for whiting or any of these gutter dwellers off the beach. Fisher Brothers, you're one of the best fishing YouTubers. Thanks very much, mate. I do appreciate that. And I suppose that just leads me to saying, whilst I got 48 of you watching, I'd like to thank every single one of you guys and girls for watching this and supporting the channel, especially those who have hit that subscribe button. If you don't mind hitting it right now, I'd like that a lot. But though what that does is it doesn't do anything for us other than show us that with subscribers growing, that we're delivering content that you want to see. Okay, and that's why subscribers to me mean more than anything there is. As I said, by subscribing, it tells me that I'm on the right direction and I'm doing what you guys want to see, and I can keep delivering that sort of content because there's really no point in me delivering any content you or the audience want to watch. So thank you very much to everyone who has subbed and everyone who is watching these videos. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Fisho Brothers, for subscribing. I can see you've asked there, do I like Molossi lures? Molossi make the best timber stick baits at the moment, I think, and look, Molossi, yes. There's no simpler way to put it. Molossi are absolutely dynamite. I'm not sponsored or encouraged to promote Molossi in any way, shape, or form. But they are absolutely brilliant, and I do think that credit is due. Now, Molossi, I do think, is actually releasing a collaboration with Penn tomorrow, which you should be able to find on all your subscription feeds and all that as well. So certainly keep an eye out for that, because I'm certainly ready to watch what Molossi is going to do with Penn. I think it could be a match made in heaven. I mean, imagine the best lures that are made going with some of the best fishing tackle that was ever invented. Go that. And I know a lot of you Dyer and Shimano fanboys are probably going to get stuck into me for that, and I hope you do. Aussie Fisherman, good point with lifting and not striking. Thanks, mate. Yeah, look, it is a very important point when fishing circles, because I see people saying circles are no good, they don't work and so forth, but that's because they're striking. Don't strike with a circle. A steady lift, lean into the fish, and the circles work amazingly well. It's certainly something that I think everyone needs to keep in mind, and they'll catch a whole heap more fish because of it. They'll also be able to release a lot of fish easier due to the way they're fishing. Chris Bing, hello from San Diego. Chris, how you going, mate? Good to have you on board, especially from so far away. What are you guys fishing for over there at the moment? You have to let me know. Wouldn't be bad to have a quick chat on that. So that sort of wraps up, I guess, the gutter talk, if you like. The good thing about just got off work, well, mate, I'm glad you've tuned in so quickly. But the reason, as I said, we're fishing the gutters is to just get back to that sort of nostalgic type fishing that you may have done as a kid. and certainly find some good edibles. A good friend of mine, Nolan, is right in on this old edible thing, and he is the master at it. And it certainly encourages me to get back to basics sometimes and really go back to finding these fish. But if you're not so keen on throwing dirty baits around all the time, being that dirty bait, as I said, set yourself the challenge with those lures because it certainly adds a challenge. Fisho Brothers, you should be able to go back through this and screen record the shout out we gave you earlier on. So that might help you out there. Aussie Fisherman, your videos are great. The beach videos look pretty good. The title had me hooked. I'm glad, mate, and I hope you got something cool out of this. So hopefully you guys can actually get involved with this gutter fishing. Another guy who does this exceptionally well is certainly Briggsy. He gets across with his young fellas, gets down the beach, finds epic deep gutters, and canes fish out of them. So anyone over there on the East Coast, that's probably who you should watch, I guess, for a little bit more local information, if you like. I believe he fishes up around Queensland. So, yeah, I mean, certainly going to be worth a look there. Now, I guess it comes to the Q&A time of it. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to fire away that I can answer? Chris Bing has said, I surf and jetty fish, corbina, halibut, perch, calico, barracuda, and bonito. Mate, how good's that? Great little variety of fish there. I think something that we've got that's very similar to you over there, Chris, I think you guys might call them bluefish or maybe elf, which are our tailor over here. And we certainly froth the tailor over here on the West Coast. And like a couple of guys that may be worth watching for that would definitely be Rush Gang Fishing. Rush Gang certainly gets onto his tailor or bluefish as they referred to overseas. So that would certainly be something that I would look out for. We've also got a few good videos on this channel where we've chased them on stick baits and so forth, including some videos of our favourite stick baits that we like using for them. So that's there. Now, 40 people online at the moment. Is there any other questions we've got before we cut this off? I mean, we've been going for the 27-minute mark already. We've covered a lot, including that GT. So for those of the 42 that didn't see, check this out. We just had this laser cut, a nice big giant trevally. How good does that look? And as I said, guys, that was done from Metal Fusion Company here in Lancelin, Western Australia, so a local guy. The prices are not expensive, and I'd certainly recommend you go check Metal Fusion Company out on Facebook. Give him a like, because I'm pretty sure he can post almost everywhere as well. So yeah, that's Metal Fusion Co. in Facebook land. That's where you're going to find it. Chris Bing, I use the gulp sandworms and minnows, sand crabs. What do you fish for? Mate, we fish for everything land-based and boat-based. We've actually got a really exciting, I guess, up and coming on the channel. Sorry, I'm stuttering for words a bit here because I'm a bit excited about this one. Hopefully Rush Gang is still on. If you're still on, Jack, might be get ready to comment, because along with Rush Gang, we're going to be getting on a small boat, big fish adventure. So for those of you who don't know my journey, I've got a 4.1 meter Polycraft Challenger with a 40 on the back, and Jack has just kitted himself out a wicked tinny. Now, I'm not going to give too much away on that tinny because you need to get over to his channel and check it out. But along with that 4.2 meter tinny that Jack's got from Rush Gang and the 4.1, we are going to be doing everything from targeting super fast fish like tuna. There he is, frothing for the small boat missions. As am I, Jack. We're going to have, I think everyone's got to saddle up for this. But yeah, so super fast fish. So tuna, mackerel, so forth. Island hopping. None of this we're stranded on the island bull dust, because that's rubbish. We're all about bringing some cool fishing and education to you guys. But dual tinny missions into mangroves, flats, reef systems, you name it, we're going to get it done. In fact, a little bit of an insight, we are hoping to get the first one recorded this weekend, which is going to be sick. Thanks for adding us there, Chris. What knot do I use to attach braid to mono? Okay, this is going to be controversial. all bright on my light gear and PR knot on my big gear. I don't tie FGs because my fingers don't cooperate with me that well. But yeah, PR on the big stuff, FG on the small, and if I'm in a super rush, I'll tie a GT knot. The GT knot on the heavier stuff is pretty easy to tie. And if I'm feeling really lazy, back-to-back uni. However, that always ends in heartbreak. Thanks, Fisher. Yeah, nice poly. Yeah, absolutely. Do I watch Sammy Hitsk? Mate, I guess who doesn't watch Sammy Hitsk? Fantastic angler. Awesome. Especially when he gets out from Shauno and all those guys as well. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff to offer on Sammy Hitsk's channel. Steve Harvey, looking forward to watching these. I really need to get mine out. You bloody do, Steve. I agree. There's no excuse. And actually, I'll have to really get in contact with you there, Steve, because I think myself and Jack are planning a northern trip up your way. So that will be super cool. Aussie Fisherman, I've seen him before and he signed my fishing hat. How good's that? Yeah, Sammy's a people's man, isn't he? He's more than happy to have a quick yarn and certainly, yeah, get involved. So that's super cool. All right, is there any more questions there, guys? I'll probably give you, I know, the odd 60 seconds to ask some questions, and if we keep going for another hour, so be it. But otherwise, we will start. I'm fishing tomorrow, going for Big Brim. Well, I hope you get a few, mate. What lures are you going to be using there, Fisho Brothers? That would be interesting to know. But yeah, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up a 32-minute live. I hope you enjoyed the structure a bit better. Here we go. Big Jet Outdoors. Just bought a Penn Tidal XD450 with 2 tips. Have you used them? And if so, what's... Woohoo! Oh, all right. So the live's going to go a little bit longer now. To be honest with you, Big Jet, I fished the 420 XR, so the single tip, the blue, and my God, what a rod. Just being able to fish with your hands on the graphite makes such a difference in the feel of smaller bites. And I don't think anyone can go wrong with the Tidal rods. In fact, I personally believe that the Tidal rods are probably one of the best hidden secrets that you'll ever find, to be honest. I reckon they're just such a good rod that the general public hasn't quite grasped yet. And when they do, it's not going to be a matter of have you, it's who hasn't fished with the Tidal, because they are that good. Mark, we'll let you know if my drone drops off out the air in Exmouth. Certainly let me know there, Mark, because, yeah, as I said, there was a few dropping out the air when I was up there, which made me real hesitant and a bit too scared to launch mine. Going with soft baits and the Molosses. What in the Molosses, their new stuff, the smaller hards and stuff, they look super cool. Cool edits. What is my favourite lure? I'm going to give you 2. All right, I'll give you 2. So my favourite soft plastic is, as we all know, the 3-inch Pearl Watermelon Berkeley Bass Minnow, or Power Minnow as they call it, which is a soft plastic that I've shown earlier on in this video. This one here. That is by far, if you had to leave me stranded anywhere in the world with only one lure for the rest of my life, this is them, without doubt. It would be followed very, very, very closely. Oh, there's just so many bloody good lures. Keeping it on topic with today, it's going to be the finisher, but in the 50mm size, okay? So I would fish the finisher, and it hurts me to say the finisher because the Molossi Marksman, as well as the small shiver stick, which is this one here, are so close behind. I mean, I fish with so many different lures these days that I find it very, very difficult to choose just 1 or 2 that I really, really froth. But look, go through this video today, and as I said, I've picked out my favourite lures for what this whole video is about. And yeah, you should get a pretty good opinion. We'll post it Thursday. Big Jet Outdoors, thanks for your opinion. Hope to get to the beach the next few days. I reinforce your decision to buy it. Mate, as I said, we've actually done a video on the channel with the Tidal 420 XR, and you'll just see how much I froth that rod from start to finish. Even though they were small tailor, because of the way that rod is designed and how it casts, it just made everything so pleasurable. In fact, I would go as far as saying, in terms of spin rods, I'd like someone to find me a rod on the market in that price bracket that will outcast a Tidal. You won't. You absolutely won't. In fact, that Tidal casts as well as my Assassin Horizons. And that's a big, big call, because we all know that the South Africans got those rods so bloody right and they cast so well. However, I will tell you that that Tidal, for a quarter of the price, will go toe-to-toe with one of those on the cast and feel equally as good on the retrieve. Probably even more sensitive, just due to having the hands straight on the graphite for that grip. I have cut my butt down there though, Big Jed. I cut it down to 200 mil from the bottom of the reel seat to give me a low mount feel, and I will be fitting a bionic finger on it soon. So I think that's pretty cool and something to keep in mind. However, I don't condone modifying rods off the shelf. You do that at your own your own risk, and if it goes wrong, then that's on you, not me, because I don't want any liability. It's pretty simple. But yeah, no, Big Jed, you're absolutely going to love that rod, mate. And in fact, please, please, please find us on socials and make sure you let us know how it's going. BJ Rogers, great meeting on Saturday, and winning the promo was all... Hey, how you going? Yes, absolutely. So for anyone who doesn't know, BJ Rogers there is someone who's followed the channel and's got right into the drone fishing. She bought a fantastic Prevail 10-foot extra heavy, and because she supported Tackle West at the fishing extravaganza and has supported the shop and the channel, she walked away with an absolutely terrific combo. A battalion with a Slammer 4500 high speed and braid. An absolute pleasure to meet you, and I am so, so glad it went to such a deserving winner. Absolutely stoked, and I do need to contact you when we're in Exmouth next. That's going to be brilliant. Fisho Brothers, who is your favourite fishing YouTuber, and do you know Briggsy Sport Fishing? Okay, so I have got 3 favourite YouTube channels at the moment, and I'm sorry for those who I offend by not mentioning you guys, because I've got a lot of lovely YouTube channels that I watch religiously. Actually, no, let's make it 4. First off, Marling Baits. For those who haven't checked out Marling Baits, he's a US bait maker. I watch him purely for the entertainment and the interest in making baits. Jack Rush. I was watching Rush Gang Fishing prior to fishing with Jack, who's turned out to be one of my better mates, and an absolute ripper dude whose content needs so much more exposure. Rush Gang Fishing, unbelievable. Briggsy, absolutely. Briggsy is probably my favourite YouTuber of all time. I just think the way he delivers his content is brilliant. And if you're interested in full cinematic style YouTube clips, you've got to check out Brooksy. Brooksy's new range of clips that he's bringing at the moment is so cinematic, so well edited by Godfrey there, that it is ridiculous of how good it is. And also, I mean, had the pleasure of meeting Matty from Pelagic Pursuit over the weekend. He was down at the Tackle West Extravaganza, and also a really good dude. Great content. But as I said, there's so many others, like West Coast Salt, Peter Fullerton Fishing. Just so bloody many that I watch so religiously. But as you said, you asked my favourite, I had to give you 4. Marling Baits, Rush Gang Fishing, Briggsy and Brooksy. You watch those 4 channels and they'll keep you entertained for years to come, I can guarantee it. But anyway, guys, there's 38 minutes done and dusted. You can always go back and watch this at a later date. It will be up on the channel forever to come now. So thank you very much for watching. Once again, thank you very much to Penn, Colour Up and Aeroo for keeping the lights on. And we are going to see you on the next episode. Now, we're hoping to get an upload done for Sunday or Saturday this week. If not, it'll be next Tuesday in between 5:30 and 6 for the next live. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and we're going to catch you on the next one. See you later.